Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the April 29th, 2014 Richland School District 2 Board of Trustees meeting. We've just returned from executive session, and I was telling a couple of my peer board members that my father, who's no longer living, passed away in 1999, was an extreme stickler for time, and he'd be turning over in his grave tonight because we were so late coming out here. So I do apologize, and it is much more difficult and painful on me than you can even imagine with the whole issue of time. But we did have a lot to cover and a lot of information that we had to get through, and so we do apologize for being late and coming out and starting our session. But at this time, we will stand and we'll have our inspirational moment by Mr. James Manning and our Pledge of Allegiance following that.
Mr. Chairman, I want to read a poem here. One of the focuses that I've been working on in my life is to stay positive. We see so much negative in the newspaper and the world around us, and I think this poem really gets to that. And it starts out with, count your blessings instead of your crosses, count your gains instead of your losses, count your joys instead of your woes, count your friends instead of your foes. Count your smiles instead of your tears. Count your courage instead of your fears. Count your full years instead of your lean. Count your kind deeds instead of your mean. Count your health instead of your wealth. Love your neighbors as much as yourself. Thank you very much.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. You may be seated. Thank you, Mr. Manning, for that. We're also very happy to be here tonight at Lake Carolina Elementary, and certainly Dr. Berry and her entire staff. Thank you very much for the opportunity to hold our board meeting here on this evening. Next on our agenda is the approval of the agenda. The chair will entertain a motion.
So moved.
Been moved by Ms. Anderson. Is a second. Second by Dr. Flemming. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we will approve our agenda. Vote. Motion passes 6-0. Thank you very much. By way of information, one of our board members, Ms. Barbara Spector, is under the weather this evening and not able to be with us, and so we certainly want to send our thoughts out to her, wish her well, and hope to see her back at our next board meeting. Next on the agenda is the consent agenda approval. The chair will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved. Second.
Approved by, motion made by Dr. Flemming, second by Mr. Manning. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we're ready to vote. Motion passes 6-0. Thank you very much. Next on the agenda is our special recognition. Dr. Ham.
Yes, Libby is here to introduce our recognitions this evening.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, Dr. Ham and staff, it's going to sound a lot like alphabet soup for many of our awards tonight. We are honoring students, teachers, and employees for awards from HOSA, DECA, FBLA, and INSPRA. If you don't know what those mean, it's okay. We're gonna get into that. Mr. Jackson our chair is going to hand out the certificates tonight. But before we get into the alphabet, let's talk about numbers. Would one of the district's strongest students, Andrew Plant from Westwood High School, please come forward? And he is here with his coach, Richard Bonneville, and I believe Principal Schmidt could not make it. Andrew is the 2014 state strength champion in the 190-pound weight class. He finished first out of 19 athletes in his division. He bench pressed 280 pounds, squatted for 495, and did a standing broad jump at 114 inches. Pretty impressive numbers. Congratulations, Andrew. Now to the alphabet, and we'll start with FBLA, or Future Business Leaders of America. Tracy Wilbur is the advisor for the Westwood High School, and if she'll come forward. Her award-winning students are Jacob Schneider and Alani Thompson. They won first place for Management Information Systems at the recent FBLA State Leadership Conference in Charleston. In just its second year in existence, the FBLA chapter at Westwood is showing what it means to be true business leaders. Congratulations, Jacob and Alani. Our next FBLA honorees come from Blythewood High School. Accompanying the students are advisor Christine Blackwelder and principal Keith Price. Our first place winner is Ian Finch, who won first place for computer problem solving. Lorenzo Dykes won first place for computer gaming and simulation programming, and Amy Johnson won top prize for business communications. All of the FBLA students at both schools qualified for the FBLA National Leadership Competition in June in Nashville. Congratulations to our winners and good luck. Mr. Price, you can stay up, and we're going to bring up your HOSA winners. Alex Vibber, please come forward along with your HOSA advisor, Libby Maynard. HOSA was formerly known as Health Occupation Students of America, and it is a national student organization that promotes career opportunities in the healthcare industry. Several Blythewood High School students attended the 36th Annual Leadership Conference. Alex took first place in medical job seeking skills, and he was also a top 20 finisher out of 300 in healthcare issues exams. Congratulations, Alex. Spring Valley's HOSA team is up next, and they had 10 first place winners. And I'm told that they had 22 overall winners from first to third, which we think may have been the most at that competition. First place team members are accompanied tonight by Principal Dr. Barron Davis and advisors Lori McDuffie and Mary Morgan. Our winners are Alexandra Bergeron, Graham Fingler, Nabina Kamunte, Karen Lee, Sarah Lee, Akila Patty, Akash Shingala, Rachel Schroyer, Chance Sansala, and Linda Thomas. Just a little aside, Linda Thomas, is she here? Linda is the 2014 Richland Library Team Volunteer of the Year. So while we had her up here, we wanted to mention that. These 10 students now advance to the HOSA National Leader Conference in June in Orlando, Florida. Good luck. Now to HOSA at Ridgeview High School, which had another successful year at the state conference. I'd like to call up Bria Dantzler, who will be accompanied by Principal Brenda Mack-Foxworth. Advisor Diane Melton was unable to attend. Students competed against other South Carolina students in many areas, and Bria won first place for biotechnology. She now qualifies for the national conference in Orlando. We wish you all the best and good luck. Thank you. Miss Max Foxworth, you can stay up there. Sorry, I didn't read down fast enough. We're going to move on to DECA, previously known as Distributive Education Clubs of America. Kind of glad they changed that name. Shortened it, at least. This club prepares leaders and entrepreneurs for careers in business. DECA recently held its state conference, and we are proud to have 3 from Ridgeview to honor as a result. First, congratulations to longtime DECA advisor Pat Jackson. Miss Jackson was presented the Outstanding Service Award for serving on the South Carolina DECA Executive Council for the past 2 years. Pat started the Ridgeview chapter of DECA in 1997, and since then hundreds of students have been prepared for the business world thanks to her dedication and inspiration. The Ridgeview team has been to every state conference, usually finishing at or near the top. Thank you, Pat, for all you do. And you can stay up there if you want. We'll call up the student. Your senior member, Ramay Atkinson. Ramay received the Emerging Leader Honor Award, which recognizes members who have been involved at all levels of DECA. These members are graduating seniors who have maintained at least a 3.2 cumulative grade point average and have completed at least one course in business or hospitality. Ramay has been a member of Ridgeview DECA for 4 years and is currently serving as the chapter vice president and president of the Beta Club. Now we'll bring up Jamie Wynn for her first place state DECA award. She took the top prize in the H&R Dollars and Cents Challenge. Ridgeview had 6 teams in the competition, which took the top 6 honors in the state out of 10 teams, and Jamie was first place. It was an online simulation to show how savvy students are with their personal finances. Jamie, I probably need your help after this. The competition involved students making quick decisions on how to spend money, whether it's for insurance, food, or housing. Oh yeah, I need your help. Congratulations, Jamie. And finally, it makes me proud to be honoring the members. Congratulations, sorry. Okay, now, you'll see in a minute why I was so excited to get to this one. I'm honoring the members of the district's communication team, a team that I joined and Martha Jones joined in February. And let me tell you, since joining, I was already impressed because I knew about them, but I'm even more impressed now. This is one of the most talented communications teams I've ever had the privilege of knowing or working with. They won awards from the South Carolina and National School Public Relations Association, known as SC Inspira. And I'd like to call from behind the curtain, Adam Ginsberg. There he is, already behind there. Okay. He won 2 television broadcasting awards for stories he did last year at Spring Valley High School. The first was about texting and driving, and the second was the Pinwheels for Prevention campaign to prevent child abuse. Shelley Kriegshaber won a television broadcasting award for a piece she did on Blythewood Academy, featuring a heartwarming success story about one of the students. The story focused on the importance of teamwork from the student, his family, and the academy. In addition to the individual awards, the office won the Golden Achievement Award, which recognizes exemplary work in all aspects of school public relations. And they won it for the State of the District breakfast that we held last August. This breakfast focused on the partnership with our business community, and 300 people attended. Ashley Bruton, communications manager, submitted the application detailing the event, its purpose, and the results. In addition to Ashley, others in the office include Laura Baker, Shelley, Adam, Brian Calley, who's right here, and he's going to continue to stay right there. Ishmael Abdul-Sabor, is she here? Dr. Teresa Riley-Stevens could not be here. She's in Washington at Education Policy Council. Tony Kenyon is behind the curtain, and Joe is here taking cameras. So congratulations to this team. On behalf of Martha and I, we are very proud of you.
Stage that.
That concludes our awards, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. Next on our agenda is student focus. Dr. Ham.
All Our student focus will feature the students from Lake Carolina Elementary School, and to present them is the principal here, Dr. Andrea Berry.
Good evening. To adjust that a little bit. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Dr. Ham and families, welcome to Lake Carolina. We are so delighted that you're spending the evening with us here. Our focus at Lake Carolina is all about teaching and learning. We don't have a magnet, it's just teaching and learning. This year, we really embraced what Dr. Ham has presented to us about the 4 quadrants: learning, community, character, and joy. And I think you're going to see that in what we're going to show you tonight. Tonight we have, with the leadership of Debbie Rowell and some of our students, they're going to be sharing some of the things that we've been doing in science and how we're making real-world connections with science. So without further ado, I know you really want to hear from them more than me, so thank you.
From Hutchison's kindergarten class.
See, school board members and Dr. Ham, even the birds enjoy coming to school in Richland School District 2. Okay, our next group is a group of 3rd graders, and they're going to be talking to you about a grade level science experience that they had earlier in the year, and they're going to tell you about everything that they learned. So we're going to get them in place.
Hello, my name is William Smith.
Hello, my name is Chandler Kilway.
Hello, my name is Kristen Mack.
Hello, my name is Claire Hasty.
Hello, my name is Sarah Speed. In our class, we have been studying about animals and their adaptations. An adaptation is something that helps an animal survive in its environments.
Adaptations can be physical, such as a bird's wings, a duck's bill, or a bee's stinger.
Or behavioral, such as hibernation, migration, and locomotion.
On Animal Skins Day, we got to observe 3 animal skins from Canada: the black bear, the cinnamon bear, and the timberland wolf. These animals have very unique adaptations. This helps the animals survive in their cold Canadian environments.
The first adaptation we're going to talk about is the fur on the animals.
School board members, this is the black bear. And this is the cinnamon bear. As you can see, the bear's fur is very thick. This is because when it hibernates, the bear's heart rate goes down, so it gets very cold. So in order for it to survive, it needs all that fur. When we went to put our hands down in the bear's fur, it went very deep. The bear's fur is an insulator. This means that it keeps in the body heat and keeps out the cold.
School board members, This is the Timberland wolf, and when we put our hands down to her fur, it didn't really go down as much as the bear's fur did. That's because the wolf is always on the move. So if she had that much fur on her body, it'll get too hot.
The second adaptation we're going to talk about is how the animals are adapted to eat.
Bears are omnivores. This means that they eat both plants and animals. Observe the bear's teeth. The smaller ones are for chewing and grinding up plants and berries. The sharper ones are for eating its fish. Now that's a yummy catch.
The Timberland wolf is a carnivore. This means she only eats meat. School board members, observe her teeth. They're very sharp and are used for tearing the flesh off of her prey so she can have a yummy meal.
School board members, we hope you have enjoyed your animal skins experience. We hope you have learned a lot about the adaptations of the black bear, the cinnamon bear, and the Timberland wolf in their cold Canadian environments.
Would the parents of these outstanding, talented students please stand if you're in the audience? Thank you so much for yours. They did a great job. Thank you very much. Next on our agenda is public participation. We did have one person to sign up, and if I think I'm reading it, Herb Meadows, I think. If you're here, if you would come to the podium and address the board, if you will, please. If you would state your name and your address for the record, and I know that you have 3 minutes to share your comments. We appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Herb Meadows. That is 5 Traditions Court here in Columbia. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I come before you this evening to plead for an extension or an acceptance of my stepson to stay into the school district. He has had some problems, I grant, but with only basically a month left in the school year, and him still doing his studies and all in an alternative program, I think he will be able to pull things out, and I think he should really, at this stage in his life, well, he realizes what kind of a mess he's got himself in, first of all, and that's the most important thing. And he knows it's not a place for children anymore. He's a senior, and I just feel that with mercy from the board, well, the judgment come down, and on the final day, God will give us a final judgment, and I just hope that you all stand with him on this. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. Next on our agenda would be voting on the executive session items. The chair will entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, student number 1, Blythewood Academy. Student number 2, Blythewood Academy. Student number 3, Blythewood Academy. Number 4, Blythewood Academy. 5, deny. 6, Blythewood Academy. 7, Blythewood Academy. 8, deny. 9, Blythewood Academy. 10, Anna Boyd. 11, deny. 12 and 13, uphold the appeal.
We're going to pull those out and do those separately, number 12 and 13, I think.
Yes.
Ms. Brill.
Okay, 12 and 13, you're pulling.
Yes, ma'am, Ms. Anderson.
I'll second to get the motion on the table.
Yeah, the motion is made by Mrs. Brill. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Second, Ms. Anderson. Further discussion.
Number 5. That was to deny. Getting confused because I want him to go to adult ed. Do I need to put that in there or?
Ms. Chisholm, if she's denying it, it automatically be directed to adult ed. We need to specifically say that. Okay. Ms. Anderson is requesting, Ms. Brill, that you would add that to your motion. Are you willing to do that? Okay.
That's fine.
So number 5, it will be to deny and refer to adult ed. Thank you, Ms. Anderson.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, we're ready to vote on those. Motion passes 6-0. Thank you very much. Chair will entertain a motion on student number 12 and number 13. Ms. Brill?
Student number 12, uphold the appeal, and student number 13, uphold the appeal.
Motion is on the floor. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Johnson. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we're ready to vote.
Mr. Chair.
Motion passes 4-2. Thank you very much. Ms. Anderson?
I failed on number 8. I wanted to deny the appeal, but refer to adult education.
Okay.
How is it possible that
You'll have to reintroduce that as a motion.
deny the appeal, but I wanted to refer that child to adult education?
We denied the appeal on that one, Jill. Okay, so we want to
We denied it, but I wanted to refer to adult education.
we want to amend that, Ms. Anderson.
Can I amend that?
Yes, we can.
Does the board have any objections to that?
No objections. We'll make that amendment. Thank you, Mrs. Anderson. Thank you, Ms. Chisholm. Thank you very much for that. Under old business, action requested the approval of the 2014-2015 general fund budget. We held our second open forum for the public to come and respond to the budget at 5 today, and following that, we're now turning to Dr. Ham.
Mr. Chairman, Dr. Miley will be making this presentation.
Sure. Dr. Miley.
Chairman, board, members of the staff, we have in front of us in your board documents was a document that, well, let me back up. To refresh your memory, on the April the 9th meeting, we talked about the budget in several scenarios. We had eliminated the zero alternative. You had suggested, we eliminated the cap alternative, which at that time was 11.8 mils. You directed us to come back with you for a budget with 8 mills. That's what you have in your board document. However, as you know, I sent you an email in between the 9th and that last Friday, the 25th. We had, can you hear me?
That's what happens.
We had, can you hear me now? We had we had extensive meetings through email and phone with the auditor's office. That was one of the key issues in our entire budget preparation, was the information from this county auditor. We had, again, we had several meetings and several email correspondences with them. We feel much more comfortable with the numbers that we have now for assessed value and mill value based on the auditor's estimates. And when we did that, factored that into the budget, it gave us another $1.6 million. Okay. We built that budget in with 8 mills, as you had suggested, and revised the budget based on priorities that had been established by you and the staff and the employees over the last 30, 60-day process. The budget you have in front of you incorporates that $1.6 million, and it adds additional items that were not funded in the previous 8 mill scenario. The 8 mill scenario last on the 9th did not fund several items that you wanted funded, and we went back to work on those, and the additional funding out of the mill value generated enough funds to fund those items and some more items, and we deliberated at the staff level what should be included. As you see, I sent that email out on Friday identifying that additional funds. In the meantime, we also met with our insurance carriers. We do this on an annual basis because we have a renewal contract with all of our insurance providers. We met with our insurance providers, and they estimate that our insurance cost, including beginning July 1, on the policies that we currently have, are going to increase at least $65,000 on an annual basis. We're adding a new school. Our loss rates are high. Our premiums are actually fairly modest with industry standards, but they've gone up. So we built that into the budget. We also included several other items that we discussed. Some support service employees. We included 2 pre-K classrooms. We had several discussions, and several of the board members that expressed high priority for more pre-K. And so we added 2 pre-K classrooms, which include a teacher and an aide. At this time, we're not saying where they go, but we have the funding for those. We also included in our budget discussions, if you remember back when in our earliest discussions on April 1st, I believe, each level of schools, that is the elementary, middle school, and high schools, all requested additional days in the contracts for their TLCs, which used to be the ITSs. We hadn't been able to fund that earlier, but it was universal across all levels of school that was a really critical need. So given that we had the funding, we added those 5 days. We're suggesting, or at least listing it, is that we could fund those 5 additional days for the TLC contracts. We also included in an earlier request, there had been a request for 19 FTEs. And I believe, Mr. Manning, you had suggested that we add at least 3 more FTEs for support. We have enough funding to do 10, so we've included, we can't fund the full 19, but we included the 10. So the parameters of this budget are based on an 8 mil increase, as you had suggested. The overall increase is about $13 million over last year's budget. Remember, some of that funds a new school opening up. Some of that funds shifts out of EIA, into EIA funds away from, that is, we have to fund general fund budget for losses in EIA funding and at risk. Looking back a few years, that is a lot of money, but just looking back a few years, just want to put it in perspective. FY 10-11, that budget to FY 11-12, the increase was $12 million 4 years ago. In FY 11-12 to FY 12-13, our budget increased $17 million. I believe that was the year that Westwood opened, a new school. In 12-13 to 13-14, it was $10 million. That is the current budget we're operating. It was a $10 million increase. So the budget we've brought to you today is $13 million increase over the existing 13-14 budget, to help you put that in perspective in terms of funding levels that we've requested in the past.
Questions and comments on the board? Thank you, Dr. Miley. Ms. Anderson. Ms. Anderson. Certainly.
I understand with our general funds, and I know that we're talking, as you explained, we're talking our brokers in the north, but I'm looking at versus raising the millage. I would like to see us take 1% of our general funds, which would give us approximately $5 million for this budget, and not raise any millage at this time.
If I understand you correct, you're suggesting taking funds from our fund balance and use them for this year's recurring budget to offset, in essence. Doing that would mean we would need less than 8 mills increase. Is that what you're suggesting?
Right. That way we would not have to increase result in not increasing taxes.
Well, a couple of things. One $3.5 million out of reserve funds would not do it. We would have to cut the reserve funds in half, basically. Not quite in half, but we would have to severely cut reserve funds. We are having calls, not with our broker, but with our rating agencies next Tuesday in order to get a rating for our bond, our 8% bond issue coming up in May. So that is the bond, the meetings that I was talking about.
In general fund.
Taking general fund.
Our fund balance is
About 30, yes ma'am.
35 million, correct?
Yes ma'am.
So if we take 1% of that 35 million, would that keep us from?
Well, the amount of funds that would reduce it by 1% of our existing budget, that is bringing it down to 14% of our budget. That's, I hate to do things over the top of my head, but 14% would be about $2.5–3 million, I think. I haven't been here that long. My caution to that is, one, your increase this year was less than last year. Your 8 mil increase is less than last year. You had a 9 mil increase last year. You've worked very hard and diligently as a district to build your fund balance up to your desired 15% that you have. In fact, you just amended your policy to raise that slightly from 15% to about 16.5%. The reserve funds, using one-time money, which it is one-time money for recurring expenses, it can be done, and it's often done in emergencies. That's not something I can recommend that you do, but you're the board, so we certainly can do that.
Other questions, ma'am, or comments?
I have one question, Mr.
Ms. Johnson.
Dr. Miley, if you would explain to me again, under the revenues and expenditures, what does the percent change mean again?
Yes, ma'am. If you are looking at the table on page 3, is that the one we're looking at?
Actually, I'm looking at page 1.
Okay, can I make sure that?
Absolutely, absolutely. Because it may be from my previous one.
Increase from last year to this year.
Yes, ma'am. That's from the April 9th version.
So we're not going to use percent change
yes,
for the new one?
I'm just saying these numbers are from
exactly, but I just want to know the meaning of them.
the far right column, if you're looking at, and mine's not in color, so on your board docs it should be in color. It's page 3 in your board docs.
Got it.
Which you have 2 tables with revenues and expenditures. In the far right column in both tables is the percent change.
Yes.
That percent change is the increase in column, well, it would be 6.6, for instance, the very first number, revenues, where we have increase, decrease over 13-14 budget. It would be $6.6 million, $6.640222 divided by the 13-14 budget. So it would be 6.640022 divided by 80,967,485. Percentage.
Yes, I didn't ask my question clearly. What does it mean? Because when I'm looking here, like for salary, for an example, it has 4.4%. For benefits, 6.6%. Utilities, 10.84%.
Okay. That's a very good one, because salaries is a confusing one, because we first frequently get this, well, wait a minute, you're giving 5% raises to everybody? And that's not the case. That includes, for instance, we're hiring 22 new teachers. In this budget, we're actually adding more than that. We're actually in almost 30 positions. So those salaries are new this year, and so it distorts the percentage change. It looks like everybody's getting a 5% raise, but that's not the case, because you're adding new salaries to the next to the last column that weren't there in 2013-14.
Okay, my question would be then, if we're not giving the teachers the salary increase that we have on this paper, then why do we have it here? Why don't we just have the accurate amount?
Okay, we have the step increase built in.
Right.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Whatever the state dictates for the step increase. That results, when you add that increase, that cost of that increase, to the new salaries for the new positions, that total salary budget that we've accumulated, added up on page 2, that makes that salary line look like we're giving 5% raises.
So in the future, can you break it down? Because when I see this, I'm going to be excited to tell teachers they're getting a 4.4% raise. And if that's not accurate, then we shouldn't have it on this paper to indicate that. We should have it broken down.
We can do that.
Please do.
We lump it together because that's how our salary data is posted.
Okay.
But we can certainly break out that this is these many new positions, and these positions will be getting this raise. I think that would be more clear. I think that's
okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson. Thank you, Dr. Miley. Further questions or discussion after board members? Dr. Flemming.
Okay. I was happy to see the increase in the value of the mill. I was glad to see that if we did nothing, it would be a $1.6 million increase in our budget. And as you know, we're getting into a time where we have to start thinking about growth again, and some buildings and some bond referendums and things like that. And I think it's time for us again to relook about what we have to have. And $13 million is basically what you're asking for in this budget, right?
Yes, sir.
Increase. Okay. Well, I can understand us increasing our budget by what the state's showing us, which is about $1.2 million this year. We need to open the school up. I understand. I don't agree with the $1.5 million because I just think we have to do it with less money. And then we're going to get 1.6 in new money based on our projected millage increase. So, Mr. Chairman, since we're going to submit a dollar amount, my discussion tonight is to, increase by the current budget by $3.9 million, or round it off to $4 million. And that would give us, we'd have to increase the millage a little bit, right? Dr. Miley?
I would have to look. I think we would have to increase.
You'd have to increase it.
I'll have to look.
But not very much. A couple, 3, 4, 5 mils. 3 mills?
I like to do it with a calculator. I hate to do
Where's
anything in my
Shelley?
head. Shelley's right here.
Huh? $4 million. If you increase by $4 million, if you increase the budget by $4 million, what's the millage?
The total budget from $223.9 million to $227.9 million. That's what you're suggesting. Okay.
That would be, but I think we are submitting a dollar amount for budget, correct, this year?
Correct. $1 million of that would be required to be spent for state-required employers' health care share and retirement share.
That was the thing. I know that's a new thing. That was a new item there. I'd have to, again, I'm up for discussion. How much was that?
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry. I know that. I know exactly what you're saying. Right. Mm-hmm. 4 million. That was mine.
Which would still, if I'm understanding correct, but that would still bring the total.
Based on those numbers, that we're getting shortage, and I may look for a discussion on the other issues that you brought up.
And as I was about to say, based upon that, the total that I would be comfortable with in recommending less than the 13 million would be nothing less than 9 million. Would be my recommendation.
If you go with 9 million, you're saying reduce the funding from the county by $4 million to increase $2.6 million.
That's exactly right.
So how many mills would that be?
Yeah, I'm talking about the millage. I'm just talking about the millage. I'm not talking about state funds. I'm just talking. That helps.
To help, well, a couple of things. One is to help with that. If you look at page 3, you can go up on the far right column and go find $2.2 million, and anything below that line would mean it need to be cut.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Manning.
I'm not quite sure why we're at this point tonight. We talked about it. We had a budget hearing. We kind of came out of that budget hearing. Then we had a meeting the last time, and at the last meeting we said, district do a 8 mil budget, which is what they've done. Now here we are on the night to vote, and we're asking for a fairly significant change in the budget numbers. I'm not saying we don't have the right to ask for that. I'm just a little confused as to how we got this far down the road before we started asking for these what I think are significant changes.
Well, Mr. Manning, I want to be perfectly honest with you. When you asked for 8 mills, I didn't agree with it. But instead of going with I thought I would fight my fight tonight. Okay, that's my point. You don't have to go for it. Right. You don't have to go to the 8 mills. That's why we're here. Right. I wasn't going to argue with last time saying 8 mills. Okay.
And I appreciate that. I think the opportunity to have that discussion is very appropriate. And we will have, the chair will entertain a motion to approve this budget or not at some point. So Dr. Flemming's request to have the discussion does not negate what's on the agenda, and that is the approval of the budget as presented. So they're not at cross purposes, okay. Not at all.
And I don't want to, again, I don't want to I'm not trying to stymie anything, just trying to understand.
That's
So
why
I
I want,
appreciate it.
absolutely.
And I also want to say, that I compromised at 8. If you ask me, we would go to 11. We would give our students every opportunity for what we can provide. And I think I've expressed that year after year. So for me, it was quite a compromise to come down to 8 from 11 and give.
My good friend from Richland County Council, a former person, Mr. Milton Pope, who's sitting over, I'm sure he's enjoying this. He used to sit in this chair and conduct this for Richland County Council, so I can tell he's really enjoying not having the stress of it. Dr. Miley.
Speaking of that, just to follow up on what you said, Chairman, is that at the end of the day, County Council instructions to us are that we take a budget proposal to them on May the 9th. Absolutely. By May the 9th. You do not meet again until May the 13th. So one way or the other, we need something to take to the county.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's why I allowed the discussion to occur. So.
Mr. Chair, just one question.
Johnson.
I want to make sure I'm clear.
Sure.
We're meeting with County Council on May 9th?
We don't meet with them. They require our submission at that point.
Okay, so when do we meet with them?
They have asked, I know of one meeting is June the 5th at 6 p.m., I believe. That they sent that notice out as far as second reading. I don't believe we must not be needed at the first reading. Sure. But we will, and I think that, I hope that everybody can participate at that point.
Can you send us an email with dates and times?
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson. Other discussion by the board.
Mr. Chairman, call for a 3-minute recess, please.
Certainly, Ms. Anderson. Doesn't require a second. We can take one. Board is in recess for 3 minutes. Thank you. We'll resume our board meeting. Thank you very much for the time they allowed us for that. If there are no further discussions, Dr. Miley, the chair will entertain a motion concerning the budget.
Mr. Chair.
Ms. Brill.
I make a motion that for the 2014-2015 year budget, that we increase our budget by $9 million.
Last year.
Over last year, that's correct.
Is there a second?
Second.
Been moved by Ms. Brill, and second by Dr. Flemming. Is there any further discussion?
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Manning.
I want my fellow board members to know that I fully support you guys. Sure. And I really struggle with this decision, and I would like for us to have a unanimous front on this where possible. I think, again, to my earlier comments, if I'd had a little more opportunity to sort of digest what this means, I might be willing to support it. At this time, though, I'm just going to have to stick with the fact that, I believe that the 8 mills is the right thing to do, and I won't be able to support the budget at that.
Thank you, Mr. Manning. Other comments? Any other discussion? Dr. Miley, are you clear?
I want to make sure.
Oh, yes, sir.
What you've recommended, that we add $9 million to total last year's budget, $223 million, increase it by $9 million. All right. I want to also make clear that if you look at Table 3, okay, if you look at Table 3, everything below, let's see, everything, what would it be? I believe it's everything below the Lake Carolina is below the line. Funding the opening of Lake Carolina would be not funded with $9 million of total funds. I just want to make sure I understand you correctly.
That's not a correct assumption. Go ahead.
Okay.
No, that's not correct.
Okay.
Go ahead, Shep.
Mr. Chairman, just real quick, Shep, can you come to the mic, please?
Yes.
I'm sorry, just because it's being recorded, I want to give everybody a fair shake to hear the information.
So we need to reorder these items.
There you go. That's what I was about to say. That's correct.
Do we do that?
That's correct, sir.
Okay. Then we're good.
One thing I wanted to kind of point out,
Board members, we can get your full attention for just a moment, please. Thank you.
working off of an increase of amount like $9 million. Basically,
with the 0 mil increase, if you do raise taxes 0, we're still going to generate $10.9 million, okay? An increase of $10.9 million, because the change from raising the 8 to 0 is about $2.2 million, okay? So that $13.1 million would go down by about $2.2 million. So if you propose to only increase the budget by about $9 million, what will happen, I'm assuming, because this will be a new thing for me, is millage would be rolled back by whatever probably $9 million divided by 279 as the value of a mill. If I go into the calculation and put 0, we lose 2.2 approximately in revenue.
So you're saying at the current request, we would go up 0 mills?
If we go up 0 mills, you would still generate more than $9 million additional dollars. Does that make sense?
In revenue.
You're getting reassessment though. Is that what you're doing?
With the figures that we've been given from the auditors, that would factor in reassessment.
So if we went to 0 mills,
we would gain.
Yeah, we get $10 million at 0 mills. Is that what you're saying? Our budget? Well, I'm for that.
Let me look.
I just want to, but I mean, we're making decisions now based on dollars amount.
Absolutely.
And so, so I just.
With the information the auditors given us, our value of a mill did improve, even after they took out the 95-something% collection. And then after reassessment, the base millage rate is going to increase by 1.7. That's not our control. That's what they levy. When you take that 29.3.2 base and factor it into the calculation using the 279, it generates local revenue of $85,375,000. So with that figure, our increased revenue in total would be about 2.91. I'm sorry, 10.91. 10.91. So if the board wishes to, because we talk in mills here, but we're wanting to give a dollar amount. If you're wanting to hit around 0 mills, you would work off the 10.9 million for our total budget increase. That would basically be like a $4.4 million increase for local dollars.
So that's $4 million. So okay, that's fine. I mean, I think we're just trying to get a hone on these dollars.
And so we would need to, according to what you've shared, we would need to amend that motion to at least say, I don't want to put words in the board member's mouth, but to amend the motion to at least move to have a 0 mill increase, which would then generate the $10.8 million.
We can just say $10.4 million.
If we target the local tax revenue and said X number of dollars for that, then we drive the final numbers. In fact, the final numbers change, as you know, even from the state level. So putting the dollar amount in terms of the very bottom number, I think the local pressure would be to limit if you're going to do that, say, like you did, Dr. Flemming, $4 million from local funds.
Yeah.
Then if state funds go up some more, then we're not penalized by saying, oh, we don't have, we're not.
Well, I think that's a good thing, because if the state, we are where we are now because of lack of funding from the state. I mean, so that's why we're all sweating bullets up here. And we've done it for the last 10 years, since 2004 or 5, something like that. And it's, but that's why we're squinching our numbers as tight as we can. At least I am. I'm just trying to. But Mr. Chairman, you think we need to amend our?
Yes, we do. Any further comments? Any further discussion from the board?
Mr. Chair, just one last comment.
Yes, Mr. Manning.
I had this quote prepared for the part of the inspirational moment. I didn't read it, but I am going to read it now. Franklin D. Roosevelt said, "The school is the last expenditure upon which America should be willing to economize." and I just want to leave that with the board as we go forward.
Looking at the numbers really close, could we possibly do 4.5?
Sure.
Yeah,
Chairman,
an
take a
$11 million
moment to confirm with
increase would that work?
Again, my recommendation is that, again, you want to focus on local property taxes. I understand that, and I think that's proven. If we just said the line item for property taxes from Richland County, 4 million, or we're asking 4.5, then we can drive that budget. And we have limited the impact on the local tax.
We did 4.5. What would be the total dollar budget? I mean, we got to give you a number. You said we had to give you a number.
Because my question was, before you said the 4.5, if you said it was 10.9, what if we round that off to 11? Where would that put
Increase, an 11 increase.
That means our total. Before we make,
Wouldn't that still put us right around the 4.5?
Yes, ma'am.
You round it to 11?
Yes, ma'am.
yes, we would.
So can we say 4.5, no more than 11?
Before we
0.5 from
Before
local.
we do anything, Dr. Ham would like to speak with you two folks for just a moment, so I will allow an opportunity to confer with you, make sure that you're on the same page in terms of the numbers you're sharing and calculations you're giving, and then we will come back and move forward as a board.
That puts us at about 4 million as opposed to 8. Chairman, is that 11 million puts us at about, so we're cutting in half what the original.
Dr. Miley, further comments?
Dr. Ham made a good reminder.
Sure.
State does have a local maintenance of effort requirement, state law. We don't want to run afoul of that. So we're trying to crunch that number right now if we can.
Okay.
I'm not sure what it is, I just know. I think that's
Dr. Miley.
The local maintenance of effort is on a per pupil basis. And the per pupil basis is probably going to check the number of head count, the weight of pupil units is going to change between now and the end of May. Again, so we don't want to run afoul of that. We may not know that answer. What I'm trying to get is whether we feel comfortable that $4.5 million or so would make sure we have the funds to make sure we maintain our local minimum effort.
I think we can, certainly can amend the motion that's on the floor and have that 4.5 be the amended motion and approve it with the understanding that if we need to come back, you will have to simply let us know what it needs to increase to.
Okay.
Rather than try to hold it up tonight and calculate it and not get that right. I'd rather not do that. Board members, would you board members be comfortable with that?
Amending the motion?
Well, amending the original motion, which was on the floor, to represent the amended motion, which would now be 4.5 million increase, with the understanding that if it requires more than that later, we would be informed of that.
I'm fine.
I don't want them guessing tonight. Yeah.
Okay.
No, I'm being honest. I don't.
But we have time before May 8th if we can get it together before then.
Yeah, we'll need to vote on it tonight, but we can make, right.
So, given table 3, again, the line item for local property taxes would be $4.5 million, and then everything else is the same from state sources, correct?
Mr. Chair, I'd also,
Mr. Manning.
I'd like for the district to share with us what it was that was cut due to, assuming that this vote's going to pass. I think the public, I think these students and the parents deserve to know what didn't make it in the budget based off our decision tonight.
If we do $4.5 million local, it gives us a total revenue of roughly $234.8 million, and it would be close to a 0 mil increase.
Other questions or comments from the board? Well, at this time, the chair will entertain a motion to, actually we're going to amend the motion that was originally introduced by Mrs. Brill, and I forgot who seconded though. Okay, it died without a second then, okay. Chair will entertain a new motion then, in that case, since that one died.
Mr. Chair, I
Ms.
move
Anderson.
that we do a 0 mil increase and to not go over 4.5.
Motion by Ms. Anderson, is there a second? I will second it.
I just want to clarify.
Now, further discussion, Dr. Flemming.
Does that carry us over does that carry us over to 10, what you said, at 10 million? So $10.9 million.
$4.5 million of local.
Local money.
Okay.
That's all.
Thank you. Other discussion? Soon as
Can I ask for
Ms. Brill.
clarification?
Sure.
How many million of dollars are we asking for now? We've gone from 9 million to how many?
To 11, basically.
11, okay.
We started at 13, the motion was for 9, and now it looks like we're settling
Now
at
we're
about
at
11.
11 million, so we're just short, 2 million short of what the
We
original,
asked for, right.
at 8 mils, is that correct?
Is that right?
Correct, it would be about $2 million less. Now, one
2
of the
million
things,
less, okay.
yes, the one question I have is Ms. Anderson made the motion of 0 mils. What I was suggesting that $4.5 million would be very close
to it,
zero.
and that's why she said that with the cap of 4.5 million. That's part of her motion.
Okay.
Any further discussion? Are we
Is the
ready?
motion easier for you the way I?
Just say 0, not,
Just say 4.5 million and keep the millage. That's going to result in almost zero.
Absolutely, almost.
4.5 is our target.
Absolutely, that's the target. And she added that to her motion.
Wait, now I'm confused, Mr. Chair. Are we going to go with 0 to 4.5, or are we just going to say 4.5? Because I think Dr.
Let's just do
Miley
it,
is
Dr.
changing what.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Johnson.
Ms.
Dr. Miley, let's
Anderson
just do a
stated.
dollar amount. The total dollar amount, Shelley, would be 10.9 million. Ms.
Correct.
Anderson, would you be willing to admit, it's still the same number?
I can go
mathematically.
10.9 or
Okay.
not to go over 11.
Yes, thank
Either
you.
way you want to do it.
Okay, Ms. Anderson has amended her motion. Thank you, Ms. Johnson, that the budget would increase by 10.9 million, not to exceed 11. Dr. Flemming, you willing to second that same motion? Oh, I seconded, I'm sorry. I'm willing to second that motion. Any further discussion? Not to exceed 11. That's correct. That's correct.
Are we good? Because I see some.
Well, one of the things
Certain looks out
is
here.
what I'm hearing from you is that you're giving us the discretion to amend page 3, excuse me, of what
By subtracting
items
$2 million.
will be included in the budget line items, and that there will be cuts to this list, and you're giving us the discretion to do that.
I tell you, Mr. Chair, again, I feel like, as a board member, I mean, I certainly have advocated for things on here that I think make a difference. I think we all have. So, which board member is a winner and a loser? Which students stand up in the crowd out there? Which one of you won't have a teacher next year?
You don't have to stand up.
classroom
He doesn't
size?
mean that literally.
It's, I mean, we're loosely putting this out there. I don't think it's right to the district, but it's the board is a group, their decision.
Thank you, Ms. Manning. Any further discussion?
Mr. Chair, I would just like to add that I am concerned with the educational process of all of our children, as well as the taxpayers' personal finances. Purchasing groceries a couple of weeks ago, everything is going up. Salaries are not going up. If we increase taxes on homes, everybody can't afford that. So I think if we're going to have to learn to start living within our means. I know that we're growing, we're a larger district, but I think if we can tighten up, we can make it through this year. And we have the reserves. I think that you're dealing with New York, our funding, not funding, what am I trying to say, Bill? Our bonds rate will go down. So
not necessarily.
With what Mr. Manning is saying, it's not that we don't care or we're not interested, but we have to take the holistic approach and look at everything. And that's why I am advocating that we maintain the tax base as it is for the next year. Thank you.
Ms. Anderson.
I just wanted that to be on record.
Thank you, Ms. Anderson. Mr. Manning.
Just a point of clarification, the local millage does not raise taxes on homes. Act 388 removed that. It raises taxes on our businesses, it raises taxes on your cars and your boats and your other personal property, but it does not raise taxes on your homes.
But it raised taxes on those other things that a lot of people own.
Right, but you said homes. I just want to make sure that...
Well, I just said homes, but
not
I think
homes.
The average person is not getting as technical as you are campaigning tonight. Thank you.
I'm not campaigning. I'm just saying how I feel.
Chairman's calling order here. Thank you very much. Is there any further discussion on the budget? Yes, ma'am.
I just want to throw one other
monkey
thing
wrench in.
first.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
But hearing all the interest and
sure. Over the $2 million.
Compromise,
yeah.
Sorry. If we look at the list of items that in the last meeting we had, and then there were several other components that we were asked to go back in and add.
Prioritize.
If you look at that funding level, about a 3.5 mil increase would result in the revenue that would basically do those things. So as far as making like tough decisions about things that the last meeting we were at really seemed to be important, that could still happen with 3.5. Again, if we don't want to do zero, that's fine, but I wanted to throw that out because if we looked at it from an approach of just these are the items last time that we really wanted to have in there and back into it, it comes out to 3.5. So I just want to throw that out there for y'all for discussion.
Well, you forgot one discussion there. You forgot the items that are not on here.
Right,
and this is not, we're not cutting anything. Now we're supporting the things we have to have, but let it be known, and the rest of it is additions. Okay, so we're not cutting anything. So I'm not going to. Thank you. I appreciate
thank you.
I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you, Dr. Flemming. The motion is on the floor and has been seconded. Is there any further discussion on the motion that's on the floor? I second it. Yeah. Hearing no further discussion, we're ready to vote. I didn't mean, give it back to me, Jill. No, I want to change it. I didn't mean to hit that. Bring it back for me. Okay, thank you. Those are me.
Okay, we're doing it again? Okay. I'm sorry.
Motion passes 5-1. Thank you very much. Thank you, Dr. Miley. Thank you, board members.
Thank you.
think it was very appropriate tonight that we had the teacher cadets here from Westwood High School. I'll now ask you to stand up, if you will. If you'll stand up. Let's give them a round of applause for being here. Thank you very much. These are our future teachers, and they get to see a real-life experience of how the decisions are made involving the classroom that you'll be in one day. Thank you for being here.
And I might say they asked a million financial.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful,
Very bright students.
wonderful. Thank you. Next on the agenda, no action, new business, is an update on the online student registration. Dr. Ham.
We're making progress on online student registration, and to tell you about it is Dr. McDaniel.
Good evening. I am very excited to have the opportunity to talk a little bit more and update you on where we are with our online registration system for our students and families in Richland 2. Before I start though, let me just publicly thank Mr. Roger Wiley, the district registrar, Mr. Rich Robinson, project manager of the district, because their efforts have really carried the load on this and have helped us get to where we are today. By way of background, the impetus for this effort really was around improving the customer experience of our parents. We wanted to make their lives easier, and that was really the initial driving force behind what we were doing. Mr. Wiley and other members of the planning and finance team conducted some research, went and visited some school districts, called some school districts. We actually did focus groups with parents, with some principals, with some other staff members to really get feedback on the whole registration process as we investigated ways to improve. Where we ended up, and there was a high, when we did the focus groups, we had a high parent interest in providing an automated online on their own time option, and that helped move us forward. And we also really wanted to look at efficiencies that we could gain. What we have moved forward is an opportunity for parents to enroll their students online from their home, from Starbucks, from their office, from anywhere they're like at their leisure. And we worked hard to streamline the collection of data so that data only needs to be entered one time. There is a difference between online registration and centralized enrollment. What we're poised to do is online registration with the opportunity and option of moving towards a centralized registration option in the future if we like, and we'll continue to research that and investigate that, but we are poised to do that if the board and if the community desires that we do that. But the online registration really is the process of being able to enroll electronically from any device wherever you are. This is a hard to read timeline, I understand that, but basically I want to just walk you through what we've been doing the past year. We started out with some significant process review and analysis of all of our registration data collection efforts. Who in the schools were handing pieces of paper to parents asking them to fill out information. And we tried to streamline and collect all those different options and types of forms that were submitted so that we could collect the data one time and not have to collect it over and over and over again. There's a tremendous amount of technical setup in the getting the databases set up for the online registration software to talk to our databases and go back and forth. And again, I need to compliment Mr. Cranmer and his staff, particularly Don Earl and Joe Carano. Their efforts were very helpful in moving us forward. We did our soft rollout, which I've discussed with the board in January and earlier this spring. And our next steps are ongoing training and doing a few things that I'll talk about in a couple of minutes. This is an example of a flyer that was sent home, created by our award-winning communications department, that went home really to help begin some of the advertisement and notification about our online registration system. And the soft rollout really targeted rising pre-K and K kids. And I want to show you a brief 90-second video that they also created that helped generate some buzz and get some excitement towards using this system.
I can't wait to start kindergarten.
I know it won't be long now. We just have to wait in this line and we'll be good to go.
Waiting in line's the best. Daddy, we're still waiting in line.
Yeah, but it won't be long now. It looks like there's some movement up front, and then we can go out for ice cream afterwards.
Yay!
Seriously? We got 5 lines and 1 guy working?
Daddy, Who invented this line?
I don't know, but he was a very bad person.
I hate lines. I never want to go to kindergarten.
I hate lines too. Everywhere I go is lines. Lines here, lines there. I've been standing in this line for an hour. I just wanted to register my daughter for kindergarten.
You know you could have avoided the lines if you had registered early online.
Who said that?
Registering your child online for pre-kindergarten and kindergarten is a breeze when you use Richland 2's online registration, and you can avoid waiting in lines.
That does sound easy.
Mr. Smith?
I'm here to sign my daughter up for kindergarten.
And is your daughter with us today?
She is. Where'd she go?
Here I am.
Avoid the lines and register your kids for school using Richland 2's online registration system. Beat the rush. Please register your pre-kindergarten and kindergarten student today.
I see some stars.
Again, our award-winning communication team put that together, and we've gotten a lot of good feedback from parents in the community on that. I wanted to share that. Our goals overall with this system were to, as I mentioned, improve the parent experience. If you can imagine a parent like Keith Price in the back that has 4 children on our system being asked to put down the same information over and over and over again, or other parents annually having to put in the same information when it's collected in our system. Our goal was to really just improve that parent experience, to improve the efficiency of our registrars and our school operations by decreasing the amount of data that needs to be entered, and also hopefully increase accuracy by having a different review system than we've had previously. This system will also help us with the identification and free and reduced lunch students by having a sibling identifier in the registration process. That's an automatic connection that we can then run reports and review later on, so we're excited about that possibility. Really the piece I mentioned before, once we collect the information one time with this system, we can create forms and output the information into any format that teachers need, that principals need, that other wraparound service providers need. So we can do field study reports, emergency reports, health reports, anything that's needed, but we're only collecting the data one time. And that's the big push. And as a dad with 3 children in the system, I'm excited about this as well for the fall. When you go to our home landing page, our website, you'll see student registration as a direct link there. When you click on that button, if you've not registered before, you get the opportunity to create an account, very similar to what you see on any PayPal or Amazon or almost any web interaction nowadays. You create an account, and after you create an account, you can log in and you begin filling out the form. And it's a smart form, so that after you fill out information, if you click you have a sibling, it pre-populates everything you've already done for the first sibling with the second information. If you happen to be enrolling a pre-K student, for example, it will direct you towards certain data that's only collected for pre-K students, but other parents don't need to do that if they don't have pre-K, et cetera. So it's a smart, interactive form that's response-driven. This is a view of the portal that our registrars and authorized folk at the school level and the district level will be able to see, and basically they can pull up and view any of this information at any time. And the process is basically such that a parent will enter in the information. It sends an email to the registrar notifying them that someone is attempting to register. The registrar can then review the information. The parent makes an appointment, provides whatever documentation is required, and they can go on their day. And so we're really hoping that it will increase efficiency. And just since we've rolled this out in the past few months, we've already had over 1,050 people use this system successfully. The bulk of those, again, roughly half were rising kindergarten and pre-K, but again, we're very pleased. And very briefly, in terms of initial feedback, we've gotten feedback from registrars, feedback from parents, but I did invite 2 registrars to come in and make a couple of comments. Carolyn Wilson from Summit Parkway Middle and Melanie Jones from Langford. If you want to come up and make a couple comments about your experiences with the system thus far.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the board, Dr. Ham, and staff. My name is Melanie Jones, and I'm the registrar at Langford Elementary School. I've been at Langford for 2 years, but been a registrar for 4 years. I've had 31 total students, 31 students register with InfoSnap, but I've also had 10 students just this year, so 41 total registrations where I've had the opportunity to use the InfoSnap system. My overall experience with InfoSnap has been actually well. I have decreased my registration time 15 to 20 minutes, which is huge in the registration world. It gives me an opportunity to sit and talk with parents more intimately about their student and their students' needs. I believe it enables our parents, who are incredibly busy, a more efficient way to submit their registration as well as other documentation. Langford is a one-to-one technology school, so I'm really excited to be bringing our registration process into the 21st century with current 21st century technology. And what I'm most proud of is that it creates a consistency across the district for all registrars. We're all doing the same thing the same way, and I'm really excited about that. That was a push for me. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. As they said, I'm Carolyn Wilson, and I am at Summit Parkway. I have been a registrar there for about 8 years, and since the system has rolled out, I've enrolled approximately 25 students. 2 of those do not have internet at home, so they came into the school. We set them up at a computer outside my office and walked them through the process. And as she had mentioned before, that is one of the caveats of the system, is that because you've decreased the amount of paperwork time that you're doing, you really have an opportunity to speak to those families and get a better feel for maybe why they moved here, maybe they have additional needs. And so it has decreased the amount of time, paperwork time for me as well, from about 40 minutes to about 15 to 20 minutes.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
And again, I mentioned when we went through the setup process, we had parents that went through and gave us feedback, and overall the feedback we received was generally very positive, particularly parents with multiple children. In terms of next steps, certainly ongoing training will continue this week. There's actually training for registrars. We're examining where we have any sticky points and addressing those with training, with support, et cetera. We really are working, our next phase is to implement the returning students. So a parent who's already in the system, when they come in this fall to enroll in school, they'll be able to log in and review their information. If they've not moved, not changed any phone numbers, not done anything different, they can review and hit everything's good, and it'll send a note to the registrar saying this parent reviewed and they have no changes. If a parent has a change in a phone number, that's the only change they need, they can make that one change and send that as well. We're also continuing to work on the forms and get all those in place because we've taken away some of the paper forms. We want to make sure that we're giving back all the information and the handiness of people being able to put things in notebooks as if that's what their school culture is and that's how they want to move forward. Our Spanish version will be rolled out for the parents to experience this in Spanish in the next couple months. We're very excited about that. And we will continue to, again, assess and revise as necessary, monitor and look for continuous ways to improve it moving forward, get feedback from registrars, from parents, from principals, and modify moving forward. And with that, I'm very happy to answer questions. Mr. Wiley, Mr. Robinson may also help answer some questions.
Questions and comments from the board?
Mr. Chair.
Ms. Anderson.
The idea that, I think Summit Parkway, is that where you were from, said that they have computers outside of our office for those parents who do not own computers at home. Are all of our schools equipped for usage?
Yes, ma'am. As we rolled this out, we worked with principals to ensure that computers would be available for any family at any school to do this, and we also offer that at the district office, very similar to our choice application period that we did back in '07.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam. Other questions, comments from the board?
Mr. Chair.
Dr. Flemming.
The registrars of the school, is that their total duties, or do they have other duties at the school?
They typically have some additional duties, but I will defer to them or principals to respond.
That's what I was thinking. Okay. my point is, I'm just trying to figure out about, centralized, what's the advantage of centralized later on. So we would free up time, we would potentially free time up for people for other things. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Flemming. Other questions, comments on the board? Since it's becoming online, will the registration process begin sooner now? In the year, I mean.
Really, parents can register their students at any time, starting really with our kindergarten. We prefer that to occur in January because we can get a handle for our projections. But students moving in ahead will be able to register earlier than before, certainly.
I've typically seen on the billboards in front of the schools, though, in like June and July and August, the push for that. And that's why I'm asking. It seemed like there was a focus during the summer for that to occur. Will this allow that to occur sooner?
It will allow it to occur sooner, and the focus in the summer is a reminder for folks to come out, but certainly this will increase our flexibility.
So they will be able to do this year-round?
They will be able to do it year-round, although we won't let students apply 2 years ahead of time and things like that. We're going to have a reasonable cutoff to help manage the data and keep it in our system.
Thank you. Other questions, comments on the board?
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Manning.
One question that I have, if a family registers to the wrong school, when will they be notified? How does that work?
During the review by the registrars of address, if they've, say, put in Catawba Trail in their zone for Pontiac Elementary, the review of the address to make sure their zone there is part of that process. They'll be notified. The registrar would discern that they're indeed enrolling for the wrong school, and they can push the information to the other school electronically, so they won't have to bundle up paper and mail it over or anything like that. So that's just built into the process.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Dr. McDaniel. Other questions, comments on the board? Ms. Brill.
Mr. Chair, do you plan to advertise this or connect it, or how are you going to let folks know that they don't have to go to the neighborhood school?
We have begun advertising it as part of the, primarily for our kindergarten and rising pre-K, and as we roll out the next couple of phases, we'll begin to increase the advertising. So yes, ma'am, we will be advertising in a bevy of ways.
Thank you, Mr. Any other questions, comments?
Great job with this.
Other comments or questions on the board? Thank you very much. Thank you, Dr. McDaniel. Next on our agenda, math update board report.
Yeah, at the beginning of this school year, we gave you a matrix of areas that we needed to focus on to improve academic achievement, and one of them was middle school mathematics. And so we have Carrie Meldrum and Marsha Mosley here to tell you about the work that's being done and has been done in middle school mathematics.
Good evening. Last year, the board allowed Dr. Ham to separate the 3 academic divisions into elementary, middle, and high. This provided us an opportunity to focus on the needs of the middle level student. While the middle years are only a brief period in a child's life, the needs of the adolescent must be taken into account in order to educate the whole child. This past year, we focused on middle school math. Our math specialist, Ms. Carrie Meldrum, is here to share where we've been and where we're going.
Good evening. Thank you for having me this evening. I appreciate it. We'll just jump right in. As the middle level math specialist, I've determined these to be my goals over the next 3 to 5 years. The areas of where we were, where we are, and where we're going in Richland 2 will fall into at least one of these goals and overlapping in many. Full implementation of the Common Core state standards begins in the fall, so this year has been a bridge year for us. During this year, teachers have studied transition documents produced by the State Department and determined what's new to their grade level standards and what will no longer be covered. So they are gaining familiarity with exactly what should be taught at each grade level. In addition, my hopes are to build the teacher's capacity in their mathematics content and include support and training for the pedagogy of a middle school aged child. Data usage will continue to be an important drive for each teacher in their classrooms. Teachers use a variety of assessments to try to get a more holistic understanding of their students. This data includes, but is certainly not limited to, MAP testing and PASS testing. Other formative assessment strategies and anecdotal notes are also used. All of this will be used to drive teachers' instruction and impact the student learning and achievement. So when I arrived in Richland too, this is where we were. My goals were derived from the Richland School District 2 priority areas. So in addition to working on the full implementation of Common Core, we have adopted a new middle school mathematics textbook. We've also purchased or upgraded the graphing calculator technology in the middle school classrooms. So training in these areas has been a priority need as we implement to support the implementation of Common Core. So where we are. With the goal number 1, Common Core implementation, with this year being a bridge year, it was very important for our teachers to build their understanding and confidence of the standards and the shifts associated with those standards. Our Common Core implementation team workshops have been vital in providing the opportunity for our schools to learn, to practice, and to plan what needs to become routine practice in each of our classrooms. Through our workshops and other professional development opportunities, it's only natural that we've been creating true professional learning communities. Schools are having great, engaging, and reflective conversations about methodology, best practices, student engagement, and student learning. And in fact, they're not just having conversations, they are actually doing these things. And of course, finally, it's equally important that we continue to support our teachers as we go through this implementation process. Goal 2, building capacity. We've done quite a bit this year in building the professional learning within the math department as a whole district and within each school. The professional development that has taken place has included Digits training, that's our digital platform for our math textbook that was adopted. TI training, that's our graphing calculator technology. We've had AIMS workshops, and most recently, we have begun the professional development with grade levels within the individual middle schools. We've also conducted monthly math leaders meetings. And these meetings are not just used to disseminate information such as important dates and updates from the State Department, but we also hold content academies. The topics that we have dealt with are methodology, the major work within the grade levels, coherence between the grade level content, and then the vertical articulation from elementary to middle school and then middle school to high school. In terms of data usage, there are many types of data that we use and will continue to use to inform our instruction, because we are always doing what's best for our students. Traditionally, we have used and will continue to use the MAP and PASS data, EOCs, grade distributions, and formative assessment to get a holistic understanding, but we're not limiting our data collection and analysis to just students. We're also using teacher and school data to look for trends, reflect on our practices, and inform our instruction. We've used time studies and snapshots to help us do that as well. Though these are 3 distinct goals, they overlap in many ways. So, where are we going? Well, these are our next steps. These are some concrete examples that will touch all 3 of the goals that I described in the beginning. In addition to the previously mentioned professional development, we'll continue to have the Common Core implementation team workshops and content academies, but we'll begin a book study this summer. I have 4 book studies planned, and they focus on the 4 major domains of the Common Core standards for the grade level bands 6 through 8. We're going to provide an algebra course next school year as a refresher. We will have professional development this summer that includes our summer boot camp, our summer institute, our boot camp, and then our new to 2. And of course, we'll continue to use the data to drive our instruction. We're also analyzing and revising the criteria for math placement to align with Common Core state standards and working to create alignment documents for each grade and the course offerings in middle school. I would like to remind you that with everything that we do, our purpose, our focus, and our goals, they are the needs of our middle school students. Thank you. Do you have any questions?
Questions or comments from the board? Question for me. plan to figure out how to back it back down to the elementary school math teacher is coming, correct? So that the elementary teacher understands now areas that they need to show up to help you at the middle school level or your teachers.
Yeah, that's the vertical articulation
Yes,
that we're
correct.
having with the elementary math specialists and teachers, as well as myself, and then the high school math specialist.
And then there will be some sharing of information or data back to them saying, as a result of that, here's how your students are performing, or you need to focus a little more closely in these areas.
Absolutely.
Okay. I'm glad to see you involving Anna Boyd and Blythewood as well in this effort too.
It's been a pleasure getting to know them as well.
Other comments or questions on the board? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next on our agenda is the items for the May 13th Polo Road Elementary School Board meeting. Dr. Ham?
We actually have I think what will be a relatively concise board meeting agenda. There are special recognitions, faculty focus, the third quarter financial statement, and the report of the transient student task force.
Other requests for items to be added to the May 13th board meeting agenda or future board meeting agenda?
Mr. Chair.
Ms. Anderson.
At our board goal-setting workshop on last Friday, the consensus was to start the succession for our superintendent search. Are we going to put that as an agenda item, or how do we plan to go about that? Because our contract, the current contract, is through June of 2015. So I would think it's sort of of urgency that we start that process now, so that we have an opportunity to do a wide search.
I think we need to have that discussion, Ms. Anderson. I guess that's what I hear you saying?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Do you want to put that as an agenda item, or how? I'm asking your guidance,
I'm
how
sorry,
you want
Ms.
to do that.
I think we need to add it. If it's an agenda item, I'm not sure if we need to have it as a conversation among the board in executive session at some point, and then bring it to the full agenda. But I'd like to have that discussion soon, is what my attempt to
Maybe
respond.
we could add that for the
Next executive session discussion?
Correct.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Other items to be added to a future board meeting or next board meeting or executive session? Okay, hearing none. Thank you very much. Next on our agenda is the second public participation. No one has signed up for that, but if there's anyone in the audience who'd like to come and address the board, you're welcome to do so at this time. Seeing none, we'll move on. Next on our agenda is board and superintendent comments. Mr. Manning.
Mr. Chair, I think it's interesting that we as a district, a number of times tonight, I heard from board members, we need to look to what other school districts do as it relates to many things. I just want to bring it to the board's attention that neighboring school district, Richland 1, asks for the full mill increase every year. So I think we pick and choose how we look to compare ourselves to other districts. I appreciate our junior scholars. We had that award ceremony the other night. A fantastic group of 8th graders that were looking forward to good things continuing in the district. I think our students tonight did an excellent job of singing and telling us about our interesting science facts and other things. I thought that was quite impressive, so good things are going on here. And I think that's the end of my comment.
Thank you, Mr. Manning. Dr. Flemming.
Talked enough about the budget, I won't do that, but I just wanted to remind everyone that even though homes aren't taxed in the operating budget of the school district, if you happen to live in a rented home or an apartment, I promise you $300 to $400 of your rent is taxes. So it is a cost. So let's remember every time we go up. Also, Mrs. Anderson, I don't know where we have never agreed about or talked about superintendent contract. We've talked about it in different times, but as a board, we've never had anything. I would surely like to evaluate this superintendent before I think about contracts of other opening up the position. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Flemming. Mrs. Brill.
Yes, I wanted to thank Dr. Berry for your hospitality. It's great to be back here. and it looks great. And I must say, your third graders are very impressive. They were adorable. And then your kindergarten student, too. Monica and I were noticing that they remembered their lines perfectly. Very mature. Y'all are doing a great job. And I wanted to congratulate all the honorees tonight, the DECA and the HOSA awardees, and all the other students that were recognized. And also Pat Jackson, our chair's wife. She does a wonderful job with DECA at Ridgeview, and we're very proud. And I wanted to thank Dr. Kratsios for doing an excellent job with the junior scholars. And we have some proud parents here tonight of students that were recognized. That's a great program. It makes me feel good about what we're all doing. Also, wanted to thank Chair for helping us get through a very difficult budget meeting. On a personal level, I think 11 million added to our budget. Hopefully we can do that and work through that, and perhaps, we'll still be getting more money. The value of the mill will increase. Thank you for your leadership.
Thank you, Ms. Brill. Mrs. Anderson.
Just want to say, Carolina looks great. It's principal and all your people that are here tonight. Thank you all for coming. It was good to see Mr. Pope. He's already gone, though. I would be interested in his assessment of the process tonight. And just keep up the good work that you all are doing. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Anderson. Ms. Johnson, Elkins?
No comments, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Ham.
First of all, I've got some hot off the press news tonight. I am very proud to be able to announce the District Teacher of the Year, who was selected just this afternoon. And it is Kim Kuhn, who is a first grade teacher at Bookman Road Elementary School.
Very good.
It was really an exciting thing to be able to make that call, and she said her first graders are just going to be thrilled. They didn't really quite understand anything except for it was a contest, but she knew they were going to be excited. So anyway, I'm thrilled for her. And the finalists for that position as well. We have a great team of teachers in Richland School District 2. I also want to congratulate Dr. Kratsios on the job she did with the Junior Scholars Program, and certainly the junior scholars and their parents. That was a great program, and they are terrific students. We have great students. I want to congratulate our District Teacher of the Year, Patrick Kelly. Last week we had the privilege of being with him at the Teacher of the Year event, and it was really an honor to be there with him. He was, as you know, one of the top 5 finalists, and it was really quite an event, and he's a fine teacher as well. Let's see. What else do I want to say? Martha Jones, our Director of Strategic Partnerships, went to Fort Jackson, and I think that is such an important partner in our district with the students and the participation that they have in our schools. We're so fortunate to have a fort nearby, and she and 21 teachers spent a morning learning about our military families and what they go through as they're making the move to Fort Jackson. That was a great event for us, and we're pleased again to have them as such wonderful partners. Sparkleberry Fair, I have to mention Elvira Butler, who won the cow milking contest. We've got folks who are great sports, but also just to be so grateful, again, the wonderful partnerships we have in the community with Richland too. The amount of work, it had been several years since I'd been to the Sparkleberry Fair. It has grown. It is fabulous, and you have to go, oh my gosh, the amount of work that goes into making that an event that supports this school district to the tune of about $40,000 in scholarships and grants that go to our teachers. So how lucky we are to have that in our community. Along with the Teacher of the Year event, Charles Bolden, the astronaut Charles Bolden, was here in Columbia and made a point of visiting with Forest Lake students, so that was a really exciting thing to have happen in the district. And then finally, Blythewood Middle School, for the 3rd time, was named a school to watch, and one of very few schools in the whole country who get that designation for a 3rd time. And the kids were going, that's a big deal. That was part of their participation in the program, but it really is a big deal. We're so proud of Blythewood Middle School.
Thank you, Dr. Ham. I too had the opportunity to be at Blackwood Middle and really enjoyed being there with the school as they received that national recognition, even though it was given by the State Department. I also had the opportunity to be with Mr. Manning and Mr. Brill at the Junior Scholars and a number of the students that were there, and just I felt so good about the fact that our district is in great hands because of the teaching and learning that's going on in this district, indicated by the more than 300 students who were recognized again on the state level for their academic excellence and performance. And I know that teachers are the ones who cause learning, so I certainly want to thank all of the teachers who are impacting the quality of education in Richland too. Certainly, I want you to know that I appreciate the passion that this board shares and about a lot of issues. Some days I appreciate it more than others, but I appreciate it. I also want to thank Dr. Berry for hosting us tonight and for being such a tremendous host. I drove by Lake Carolina Upper, Jeff, on my way here, and those of you who haven't been by the new school that's going to be opening, you should go by there. Very impressive looking, very impressive. Got lost in the back when I went out and tried to get out the back gate and go into the neighborhood and couldn't get out, but very impressive facility there. Thank you all for coming. If there are no more other comments, at this time the chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Thank you. We're adjourned. Thank you. Have a good night.